All right, so with that, Ari today is going to talk to us about aligning user needs with client expectations. And this is interesting because, I come from a product manager's perspective. A lot of times it's like, okay, well, the business requirement says this on the sales side, especially for salespeople, they want XYZ done. But I also can see from the client perspective, the user perspective, I probably, it's not always aligned. So as a UX UI designer, how do you balance, different voices and different
Yeah.
priorities to come up with the best experience? And that's what Ari's going to talk to us about. With that, Ari, go ahead.
Sounds good. Thank you, Shirley, for the wonderful introduction. I think this is very dear to my heart, to be honest with you, like aligning the user needs with client expectation, because I also started in my first few years as, a young designer, just wanting to do all the pretty things, right? I didn't really care about the business side. All I wanted is like, yeah, we're going to make everything better because it's going to be more beautiful. Well, surprise to say, obviously that doesn't really work in the real world. My husband, he actually my co-founder in the business, and he is the big influence in terms of like me trying to understand what is the business side really looks like and how you really need to really look at your design to solve a business problem instead of just like making things pretty. So just to kind of give a quick introduction again, my business really do help women-led tech companies fast forward their business through brand strategy, development, web solution, UI UX, and data visual design. My husband on the other side, he focused more on the technical side. So anything that is development, anything that is very techy, nerdy things, all his department. Whereas my department focused more on the branding side and all of the creative side of things. Now, I think I definitely wanted to ask every one of you here, because we have quite a small, intimate session today. Pretend that you've gone through our webinar today. What are the takeaways that would help you on your next UI or UX, UI web projects? Anybody wanted to share?
While people think about that, Ari, I feel like I can only see 80% of your screen.
Really?
Yeah. Is that true for everyone else? Or can you guys see everything?
Huh. 1 second. I will see what's up with that. I'm going to try to stop sharing then. And then I'm going to share again. So it should be just that. Can you see my screen better?
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
Cool. So I'm not going to touch anything then. Okay. If nobody wanted to share, I think that's perfectly fine. I'm just going to keep on going and we can ask questions along the way.
Sorry,
Now,
Ari. So once you do that, it gets a little, because you see the size. So could you go to Zoom on the top left corner and then maybe change it to 100%?
Oh, 200%?
100.
Oh, 100. Okay. Like this?
Yeah, I think that's a little better.
Okay.
And then like shift is there any way you can move the center?
What do you mean move the center of this one?
That's okay. That's okay. Let's keep going.
Are you sure? Can you see that though?
I can see better now.
Okay, fantastic. Let me know if anybody else have any issues. All right, so a couple of things that we really definitely want to talk about today is uncover the client's real website need. Understanding their need and how it really overlaps with their client's need. And then delivering a no-brainer UX strategy before creating a website design. I feel like oftentimes when you have a client, right, they come running to you and then they say, I need a website. Or they maybe just say, our website is outdated and we just need to redesign it. Or they come to you because now everybody's going like fully online and they are really wanted to amp up their e-commerce website. They just want to do the same thing. But really, what exactly is the real problem here, right? Do we really even ask them, say, okay, you need a website, but why? Why do you really need a website? Or is this really a good amount of investment you need to be investing right now? I mean, like, is this really the right place to invest? So I would definitely kind of help a lot of our clients understand, like, what is the purpose of your website before we even do the project? I mean, obviously we all want it to kind of help everyone and get them the website or the business that they are currently having issues with. But we need to really look at like what the purpose of their website really is, and then what is the business goal they really want to have. Either they want it to sell, or do they really just want the website to be an informational website? What are those really look like? And for the business itself, like, is there specific challenges they're currently having on the website? Is there something that is not working, or what is it really working on the website right now that we can leverage for the next iteration of the website? Asking why is very important. I feel like a lot of us sometimes forget, like, why are we even doing this right now? Why is this really important? And why do you really want to work with us on this particular website? Because they probably coming to you because they have a very specific need in mind when they see your portfolio, or maybe they have, gone through some of the things that you have shared on your website, and there's something in there that really compelled them to talk to you. Maybe you are trying to solve certain problem when it comes to the website, or maybe e-commerce website, or maybe like in terms of like the UX flow. So what are those things? I think it could be very important to know so that you can leverage that particular reason so that you can move forward better with the your projects and the client itself. The one thing that I always start using on every single project that come to us is that understanding their challenges. What is their aspiration? Is there certain focus areas that we need to pay attention closely throughout the project? What are some of the guiding principles, as well as the activities that they want the user to do on this particular project? If you're not familiar with this strategy blueprint, this one is actually from Jim Kalbosh, UX strategy. So if you can, try using some of these as the starting points to discover and think about, like, what is the real problem that we're having here for this particular client, and how can we really solve that challenges before we move forward. A couple of quick example that we had in the past is from the Onshore Technology Group. They came to us because they just realized their website is just outdated, right? It hasn't been updated in the past year, and they feel like it just needs some facelift. But after talking to them and really understanding, the real problem is that they lost a lot of projects. Like, they lost a lot of engagement throughout the website because it's just not as professional as it should be. They work with a lot of different companies and really high-end industries around pharmacies and research companies that really want to utilize their platforms and their services to do lean validation. So that's what they really excel about, but they don't really introduce that anywhere on their website. So they're losing that particular credibility in order to start building trust with their own leads and clients. So when they figure out that, okay, that is the real problem that we're having, so how can we really present those to our leads and customers? So, like pulling all of those data and information, you were able to tell, like, the new direction for this website is really to explain how can we leverage the excellency and the expertise from Onshore Technology Group so that they understand the data and all of the experience that this company have can really excel the company's research projects and stuff like that. So that's just one example from the project we did recently. The second thing that I also feel is important is aligning needs for the users as well as the client's need. If we already understand what the clients really need from the website project and what is the users really need, I think we can definitely overlap those two needs and find what is really important for both of the sides so that we can bridge those gaps. Right, thinking about what is the problem they're currently trying to solve for the user, what exactly the needs from these particular users that they're trying to provide solutions for, and what actions should they really do or take when they get to the website, or certain type of landing pages, or maybe certain type of sales pages. Is there any solution that are being presented by the client? Are they clear? Are they really accessible? Are they really simple to understand by the user? And do the user really feel the delight throughout all the touch points that the client's really trying to share on their website experience? I'm wondering how many people are really familiar with this particular journey map. Anyone use this in their project so far? No? If you haven't yet, I would encourage everyone to start thinking about, leveraging this particular user map journey. I started using this in a couple of different projects in the past couple of years, and it was really clear for us to just kind of help understand how a user really experience certain type of journey, before they get to the website or like after they get to the website, right? Understanding who this person really is, what is their scenario in terms of like, what are they currently experiencing? Is there any particular pain that they're experiencing in their life right now, or maybe in their business if you're targeting a business, and what is their goals and expectation really look like when they find a certain solution to that problem. And when you start thinking about like their journey in terms of like the phases that they've gone through before even finding a certain website or a certain business website, how did they even hear about this particular website or business? Maybe they've gone through a LinkedIn, maybe they've gone through some, they see some ads on Facebook, or maybe they've seen them on other social media platform. What are those journey really look like was very important for us to understand. Where are they coming from? Are they coming from, by searching from Google, or are they coming from Yelp, or maybe they just like find us from a certain type of articles around the other web. So it was really interesting to kind of see like, okay, if they're coming from a certain type of website, how are we leading them into the actual website of the business? Will we be presenting a certain type of, different services right away, or are we targeting them to go to a certain sales or landing pages that speak directly for that one challenges? So thinking about what are the opportunities look like for all of those different touch points was very interesting, so that you can kind of enhance some of these strategies and ideas and implement it into your website design layout, or even the sitemap when you get to that stage later on.
Hey, Ari, I have a question on this.
Go ahead.
So NN Group user journey map. I'm sure there are a lot of other, sort of like templates for people to utilize. What is the best, I guess, when is it the best time for you to present this to users? Is it at the very beginning of, exploring these subjects, or like where in the product timeline do you present this? And also how many people is a significant enough sample size for you to gather information?
Yeah, so this one is not being presented to the end user. This one is presented to either the stakeholders or the client, right? So looking at every single persona that you have for the business, typically business have around like, either 3 to 4, maybe 3 to 5, depending on how big your company is and how niche your target audience really are. So depending on like each persona, every single persona and user journey map for them will look slightly different. So in terms of like size, in terms like how many people you wanted to test this, I think that's not really relevant in terms of like testing it, for example. It's more like really understanding for each persona that you have, how are their journey going to look like before they get to the website and after they get to the website. Cool.
Cool, thank you.
Did that kind of help though?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when you're creating these, what is your like research process? Are you creating personas mostly based off of like conversations with stakeholders, or is there like some sort of like qualitative data, or does it just kind of like vary from client to client?
I think it's vary from client to client, but essentially a lot of the time when you work with, say that companies that are your small business or medium-sized company, a lot of the time they already have their persona defined, right? Whether they have gone through a brand strategy before, or they have all this information from the marketing side, you can leverage those in case you don't have any research or any data available. But if you do have them, I think it's really good to kind of combine those information together and then think about what are their typical journey looks like for this particular project when you start having discussion throughout either a strategy session or a discovery session with your client.
Great, thanks.
Any other question around this before we move forward? No? Okay. The next one is obviously delivering no-brainer UX strategy before you start on the design. The mistake that I've seen a lot of young designers do when it comes to, start working on their website design is they don't really think about how should it best to implement certain type of user flow, or think about like, okay, how many pages do we really need and how does each page correlate to each other? How does each of these pages going to make sense for the user when they start landing either on a homepage or maybe they start landing on a contact page? How are you going to move them around from different pages? So understanding how you build strong foundation and structure on your sitemap and wireframe is really important before you even start on the creative. Identifying those key touch points so that you can help guide user to take certain action and find opportunities where you can delight them. Adapting KISS principle is definitely a key in my opinion, because you can start seeing different examples out there where it could have just been very simple, but they just like try to think about it, outside the box because they want it to be different. So as much as possible, definitely avoid using jargons. We already know that, right? But keeping it simple, stupid is just taking it another level so that the user can really understand what you really want them to do, because they don't want to think. Don't make them think, and just like guide them, tell them what to do, and then they'll do it. So a couple of really interesting example that I've seen recently is that this is one from, I think, Seattle Times. Yeah, seattletimes.com, when people start trying to get some updates around coronavirus. So if you kind of see these two buttons right here, yes, I want coronavirus or dismiss. I definitely do not want a coronavirus when I see this, right? And I was like, yeah, dismiss. But if your goal really is to get people signed up for the updates, this could be simply changed to, yes, I want the updates. Instead of just like, yes, I want coronavirus. I'm thinking it's probably a longer button over here and it got cut off. I'm assuming that probably what happened here, but you never really know because this is what people are going to see oftentimes. So they could have to simplify this to be, yes, I want the updates or dismiss. So that's another example. Another one that I've also seen, not necessarily related to digital design per se, but this is really simple. Like, think about it. If you ask a certain question and you know exactly what you're really trying to solve, this helps people to really see it differently in terms of like answering things in a simpler way, right? So what's wrong? Help, I have a headache. Help, I can't sleep. Help, I have an allergy. If you think about it in terms of like digital side, if you have certain call outs or headlines on your either like a website page or any other sales landing page and things like that, and have certain buttons over here that speaks to their particular needs and direction you want them to take, it's very simple. So lead with a headline that is very strong and really targeting their particular needs and pain point, and offer the solutions right away. I think that was the essential of this particular example that I wanted to share. But again, going back to the KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid. The next one that I have is also trying to understand your clarity on the sitemap, the user flow, as well as wireframe. These are the three simple, well, not 100% simple, but it should be something that you use as a foundation before you even start working on the design or anything that is, UI or high fidelity base for your design to present. So understanding how your sitemap going to look like and how your user flow going to look like, so it can kind of help you save a lot of time thinking about pages and supporting elements that you need before you start designing a website design. The one tool that we start using for projects like anything related to web development or web app is FlowMap, which is very helpful for us to just kind of map out all of the information before we start working on wireframe. So they also have a really cool tool to include personas in the app. So I think you can certainly check that one out and see how that can kind of help you for your next or upcoming project. And I think, honestly, those are pretty much what I have. Would love to see if there's any questions that comes to mind, maybe questions around process, or maybe you have certain things that not fully refined and wanted to refine, and we can kind of talk and discuss that together.
Hi, Ari.
Hi.
Yeah, so I work at a startup that builds products for financial solutions.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to know if these processes you've highlighted would also work at big corporations or they are more suited for smaller businesses.
Are you currently working with a bigger company?
No, a smaller company. We're just about 20 in the team.
Okay. I feel like all of the process that we have gone or shown today, it could be applied to either smaller or bigger companies, right? The thing is that I would look at what exactly the goal really is for this particular project, either the one that you'll be working on or you currently are working on with the team, and really understand, are these really meeting the user's need? If not, how can we figure out to meet those user need and align it with what the business really want to do on the website or anything around digital platform that they are currently in. It doesn't really matter how big your company size are. I think what matters is really to understand how can you align those needs together so that users are really feel understood when they come to your website and they are compelled to take an action that you want them to take.
All right. I have a follow-up question to that.
Mm-hmm.
So for projects where the user personas for the customers you're building for or designing for are varying, like the habits of the customer or the personas vary, do you have to consider using different methodologies when you're testing for like a design, like for a UI you've built or for a UI you've designed? Do you have to consider using different methodologies for different types of personas?
Different methodologies in terms of?
So if I was test at work, I'll usually guide the participant through the test. But I'm asking if there are different kinds of personas, like maybe one is a more advanced user and the other person is an entry-level user. Do I have to consider using different test methods?
Yes, I think when you mentioned tests, do you mean like if I kind of go back to this one real quick, are you talking about like should we use different two user journey maps for each persona? Is that the question?
Yes, something like that.
Okay. Yes, I would definitely create one user persona. One user journey map for one persona. So if you have 5 user persona, I would do 5 user journey map for each of those personas.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other question?
You talked about specifying goals on the user layer. So as a company, what have you seen is the best practice for how many goals per page or per site?
I often ask them what are their primary goals for their website. Oftentimes I would limit that to 3 primary goals. They can certainly have as many secondary goals as possible, but we often feel like we need to hit those primary goals first before we look at the secondary goals. So for example, the recent project we did for a UX strategy, this one particular woman, she ran her own business online on coaching and things like that. And her primary goal was to really get more bookings and showcase her credibility. That was 2 main goals, right? So when you start seeing how we implement some of the strategies on her website is we want to guide the user to get the initial booking or start booking or lead them to the booking page as much as possible. Doesn't mean that you have to use all of the buttons and say like, okay, book a call in every single section. No, but I think you need to start thinking about how can you implement these call to action across the website so it looks more natural and it actually are guiding people to take the right and relevant action or takeaways from that particular page. The other thing that she wanted to have on the website is to show credibility. So obviously showing credibility can mean a lot of different things. It could be showing testimonials. It could be showing like where she have been featured either through the press or in a recent interview on the maybe magazine and things like that, or maybe it in terms of like what other brands have she worked with before and showcasing those lists of logos or trusted logos that she has spoken with before or worked with before. So I think there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of showcase or expand that particular goal. And when you actually accomplish all of the primary goal first, you can start thinking about what are the secondary goals. So if the secondary goal is to maybe have people to go to their blog page or sign up for the newsletter, how can you how can you guide the user to still see these actions available on the page, but it's not as important as the primary goal, so that their primary action should not be leaning towards like signing up for the newsletter as their primary goal, but it become the second primary goal for them. Secondary goal, yeah. Does that help?
Yeah, I mean, that was a lot to think through, especially since I'm not a UX UI designer, but I think logically it makes sense. And would you say, you know, the number of goals, does it change or stay the same depending on size of the company?
I feel like it always changed depending on the company itself, but we often feel like 3 is the really good number, right? I think in every other things around our life, 3 is just like the perfect number to do things. It's not too much, it's not too little. So we often just like cap it at 3 for primary goals, but for secondary goals, it could be as many as they want. But obviously try your best not to kind of let the stakeholders and your client to set secondary goals around 20 secondary goals. That's just too much. But yeah, 3 is definitely a top number for us to kind of hit primary goals as much as we can.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Does anyone else have any questions? We wanted to make this into more of an interactive session instead of a webinar. That's why we promoted everyone to a panelist. We're gonna put Ari's recording also on our website, so we can share to a larger group. Ari, yeah, so where can people reach you?
Honestly, I'm on LinkedIn. So if anybody wants to connect with me on LinkedIn, feel free to do so. And if you have any other questions around either UI UX or branding for tech companies in general, feel free to reach out.
Great. Thank you so much, Ari, and thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you for coming, everyone.
We'll talk to you soon.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, hi Ari. Cause just recently, one of my clients actually came with a problem. So mainly in small companies, what they look for, they want to generate revenue. They don't put the effort to build awareness, build the trust. They want the end goal to generate revenue. So what I proposed them, so I try to attract the user by putting a proper trust symbol, by providing some other company's name in front of it, so that the user get trusted by the company website. Then only they can generate the revenue. So is there something the pattern of each and every section putting, so that we can get the conversion rate as it required? Is there any pattern that we have to follow?
I would love to understand more in terms of like what does generating revenue means, right? I feel like that is very broad. Do you know how they really generate revenue? Is it by, you know, getting the first sales call first and then selling from there, or are you really selling on the website? So what does generating revenue mean?
Means they are trying to sell their product as the end goal there.
Okay, so they have an e-commerce website, is that right?
Yeah, sort of. They have a product that they want to, there is a service that they want to sell. That's their end product. So that's how they want to sell.
Okay, so if I understand this correctly, the client have some sort of like product or services on the website, and they would love to get people to buy more of those product or services to generate revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Yes? Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would really think about how can you really lead the user to really do that particular action. That is a big action. Asking someone to, purchase something right away on the website is a big step. Without getting them familiar with you at first, or really giving them the resources that they need so that they can trust this particular company to solve their problem, right? Before you actually ask a user to hit the big buy button, what can you do first? How can you warm up to them first? You're not going to be able to tell them, hey, marry me right now as you come into my website. You need to kind of like get them in terms of like, as you date someone, you need to kind of take them on a date. Like, can you actually send them something more valuable? Can you send something that is more in terms of like some reassurance that you are capable in this particular either industry, or you are able to solve this particular problem, and showcasing that through a case study. If there are some sense of, if it's a service related type of business, I would showcase some case studies. So either a user or future client can see how compatible this particular company and what are they capable of in terms of like skills and services, and how that would also be a good fit for the new user. Can they feel some sort of like trust and reassurance that by coming to you and by purchasing that specific services can help them solve the problem? So I think there's a lot more work that you need to be done in terms of like getting them to hit that or click on that big buy button. So I would focus on like, what would the user journey look like before they hit that button? What can you do to kind of either compel them to take that action before they, decide to buy from you? I hope that
Can you
helps.
give some advice? What's the journey should I put forward if I present it? What kind of journey should I put forward in front of user as a strategy?
Without understanding what industry you are right now on this particular project, I may not be able to give you like the right or proper solution on this, but really think about like, where are they coming from? Are they coming from different website? Are they searching on Google? If they were to find this particular company and their services, what is relevant search keywords that they will search on either Google, or if they are on LinkedIn, is there a particular business or people that they follow on LinkedIn that might share this particular information? What type of, phases that they are experiencing before really finding or searching on Google to, find a certain solution to their problem. So say that let's just say I wanted to find a babysitter, right? This is probably not the right type of example, but say that I want to find a babysitter. What I would do, I would probably ask around my friends who are fellow moms. That's probably one. And then another thing, I would probably search on Google, right? So there are two phases there that you can explore for this one particular persona. Now, going back to your company example, if you can think about your persona and who these users are, what do they do? What do they search for before they go to the website? Do they go to a different website for an article, or do they go to an event maybe to find out more about this particular info and then go to your website? What are those experience looks like for them?
Okay, that's help, Ari. Thanks.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Okay, bye.
All right. Well, thank you, Ari. I think we had a really good session. Again, I'll share this back out to the group once we get this uploaded. And Ari will share your information as well so folks can connect with you.
Sounds good. All right.
Thank you. Have a wonderful
day.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.